Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out a diesel heater from Vevor. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what's going on. Alright, when you first open it, here's what you should expect. The top thing is looks like an air deflector, and I believe the insert for the air deflector. There is also the diesel heater manual, a couple of pieces of styrofoam. All right, and this diesel heater is packed in here very well. All right, it was surrounded by this foam, and it is also wrapped in bubble wrap, so it is very well packaged. And then below that is the box of accessories, which we'll be opening here real soon. All right, and here is what the diesel heater looks like. As you can see, it is an all-in-one unit. Here is our fuel cap right here to pour in the diesel. You can see that there are slots in the frame to be able to see the amount of diesel that you have in the tank, which is nice. You have a couple of clips right here, and there are some on the other side where you can unclip this, take off the cap to the fuel tank, and lift off this cover so that way you can get to the internals if needed. On the front, we do have a small display and a remote that has a plus minus and an on-off button, which is pretty self-explanatory. You can turn the unit on and off, and you can increase and decrease the temperature coming out. Here is the output for your heat exchanger, so all the heat is going to be coming out of here. And then on the back, we have the wiring, and it looks like it does have a fused positive wire, and it is just bare terminal connections, so we will have to put on our own connections. And then this is also the air intake for what's going to be heated. All right, here's what's in the accessories box. We have an exhaust pipe, an air intake filter, and a bunch of clamps and connections to be able to clamp on all the hoses. We also have a muffler to quiet it down a little bit. And we have a small flexible hose to guide the heated air that's going to be coming out. And I almost forgot. Inside this flexible hose is another hose, and this is a flexible hose for the air intake for the exchanger. And you may look at all this stuff and say, hey, that seems like kind of a big project just for a heater. But it's no big deal at all. So let me show you just exactly how you put this thing together. And like I said before, once you have all the parts out, everything just kind of makes sense on where it goes. So here is the hot air output hose and the deflector that connects to it. Here is your exhaust pipe right here, and here is your fresh intake pipe for the exhaust, and a filter that goes on the end of this so you don't get large bugs sucked in, stuff like that. Here is all the mounting hardware and all the clamps to go with it. And here is the muffler with some mounting hardware. All right, and with all this out, the very first thing you should actually do with these diesel heaters is make sure that the connections inside are nice and tight, because you don't want to put this all together, fill it up with diesel, and then find out you have a diesel leak. So let's go ahead and open this up and check it out. And make sure when you're taking this frame off that you take off this cap. It'll be a lot easier for you. There we go. All right, now that we got the frame off, you can see that this thing is actually a pretty basic unit. You have your fuel tank right here. You have a fuel line right over here that goes to a fuel pump. This fuel pump then goes down to your heat exchanger, and the heat exchanger is what creates all the heat. On the bottom of this heat exchanger, you will see that there are two ports. One is the fresh air intake, and one is your exhaust for your heat exchanger. And then on the front, there's a small controller to be able to control the temperature and the air, pretty much the speed that the pump works and the amount of air that's being blown out. And what you want to check is your fuel line connections, making sure that your fuel lines, nothing should really move at all. And also look for any wires that might be loose. And on this unit, everything looks to be good and solid. Nothing is moving around. You'll notice that things are feeling loose, But once you put that case back on, everything solidifies into one solid unit again, so you don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the case back on, and we'll start putting on all the pipes. All right, the case is back on, so let's go ahead and install the exhaust piping. And you can see right here, there are two ports. This one with the fuel line closest to it is your fresh air intake, and then this one off to the side is your exhaust pipe. All right, first we're going to go ahead and install the fresh air intake just by putting this on with the hose clamp and screwing it in place. All right, so that should not move. And we're going to go ahead and push it right out this hole in the back of the unit right here. And then we're going to use another hose clamp to put on our filter. And you can see that you can kind of just twist it right on. And you almost don't even need, you know what, you don't even need a hose clamp on here. But we'll put it on anyway. Okay, perfect. And then the next one, we're going to be using this exhaust pipe right here. And this is going to just come out here and go straight across. So we'll put on a hose clamp. And you want to angle it so it's easy to get to. So you kind of want your hose clamp, the screw on your hose clamp, to be able to have access through this hole right here in the frame. Kind of slide it on all the way and then screw it down. And this exhaust one, you want to make sure and get it as tight as possible. You do not want exhaust to be coming out anywhere you don't expect. All right, now that we got our exhaust pipe on, let's go ahead and put on the muffler. A lot of people notice, like, you can actually just see right through this muffler, and you would think that it really doesn't do anything, but it takes away like a high-pitched little whistle. So it's actually worth putting this on. And you put your hose clamp on, and then put this right in like that, and tighten it down with this hose clamp. Perfect. All right, now that we have all the pipes and exhaust and the fresh air intakes and all that stuff put on here, the only thing that we have left, the 3-inch pipe to divert the air, the hot air coming out. Now, I'm not going to bother putting this thing on just for this demonstration, but again, this is just something that you'd use one of these pipe clamps, fit it on, put it right on the front. It's very self-explanatory. What I'm more interested in telling you is the dreaded part of this. And, you know, a lot of people see this and they're like, nope, I'm not going to deal with that. Because you have to worry about what kind of power source you're going to use, and you have to be able to clamp something onto these to make it so your battery source is a solid, you know, it's solid, I guess you could say. And the best thing to use for these diesel heaters is actually a battery. And if you know me, I work with lithium iron phosphate batteries. So here's the battery I'm going to use. And it's this WattCycle Mini 12 volt 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. But seriously, any 12 volt battery would probably work. The reason I'm going to use this one is because it's smart, and we'll be able to see the amount of wattage that's coming out of this battery to power this unit. But for any battery, all you need to know is the type of connection that you're connecting to. For this battery, it's going to be M8 terminals, so I'm going to have an M8 ring that can fit. And this wiring, I know to be like a 14 to 16 gauge ringlet will fit on here. And that will be these blue ones right here. And you can find these at any big box store, Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's, something like that. And you can find the tool to crimp them on if needed. I'm going to go ahead and crimp these on, and we're almost ready to go. And just like that, our ring terminals are connected. Okay, you can see that the diesel heater is now out in my garage, and I have the exhaust going out the garage door, underneath the garage door. Over here, you can see that the battery is connected to the diesel heater right now. And I do have it on a couple of 4x4s because you need to raise that up so that hot exhaust pipe can get out from underneath the unit. And when I say hot, I mean hot. It's going to be 250, 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So don't just set it on your tailgate or on your, on a piece of wood or like on a bench or something like that, because it will burn or melt anything it touches once this thing is up and running. I am freezing right now. It's 20 degrees outside, and I want to say it's about 35 degrees in this garage. So let's get this thing kicked on right now. What I want to show you though is the battery. How much amperage is it going to take to start this thing up? And what we're going to do is, I already filled it about a third of the way with diesel, and I'm just going to use this remote to turn it on. Hopefully it works. I didn't even check to see if it had batteries. I just hope it works because I'm starting to get really cold. But let's go ahead and pull up the app on the screen right over here, and you can see that the battery is at 72% and it's not using any kind of wattage whatsoever. So let's go ahead and just click the on button. And it just said start heating right now. And it's blowing out a little bit of air. On the app, you can see that we're using 7 amps right now. Actually 7.2 amps. So that's about 95 watts of electricity. And the fuel pump hasn't even started clicking yet. All right, you hear that? That is the fuel pump starting to prime. That is priming up the unit, and so hopefully this thing will start gearing up to sound like a jet engine, and we'll start getting some heat. And this knocking sound right here is probably not as loud as it comes across on this microphone, but that is the biggest issue with these, is that knocking sound. So that's just something you have to be concerned about when you're actually running this unit. All right, the air is starting to really ramp up, but it's still cold. You can see that the current is now 9.7 amps. So that's about 127 watts. And now the current has actually dropped down a light because that, I think it's like a little igniter that's in there. That's what's using all the amperage, and it's starting to heat up all the way to full, so it doesn't use as much amps to power that thing. So now we're pulling about 3 amps. And the air is starting to get a little warmer. I want to say it's been about 4 minutes. All right, now that this Vevor diesel heater is up and running, let's go ahead and check the temperatures on a thermal camera to show you what really is going on. And as you can see, coming out of that heat exchanger is 360 degrees Fahrenheit, right there. If you compare it to the ground outside, it is 16 degrees outside. And here, like I said before, the exhaust is, right up here, it's 336 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can see that exhaust just blazing out of there. So as you can see, this thing can really generate the heat. The rest of the unit is staying nice and cold. 42 degrees, so it's nice and cold because it's cold in here. But this thing, even though it's sucking in, even though this unit is sucking in like 20 degree air, it's still pushing out 330 degree air. And this unit is it's the simple version when it comes to Bluetooth and all that. It does not have Bluetooth. So let's just look at the screen real quick and kind of show you just the basics of what it has. On the screen, the number at top is the speed rating, so that number 10 is the highest. And down here are 3 buttons. One button is the down arrow, one is like the up arrow, and then the one in the middle is the power button. And then also underneath that is a clock which you can set in the settings inside the unit. And honestly, I wouldn't be worrying about the time and all that stuff unless you really want to set this thing to start up and shut down at certain times. that's when it starts to become important to know the internal programming of it. But if you just want to turn this thing on with the wireless remote, you don't have to worry about those settings at all. All right, so when it comes to like your basic all-in-one diesel heaters, this Vevor is working fabulously. It's it's bringing in that 20-degree air, and it's blowing out air that's over 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And it sips diesel fuel, and it only uses about 30 watts of electricity once the thing is up and running. So if you have any questions about the Vevor diesel heater, please go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'll have a link to this item in my description, along with everything else I used. Thank you so much for watching this video, and have a great day. Bye-bye.